She told me, "It's complicated." Then I found a text from him saying, "I love you more." The words wouldn't stop spinning in my head as I stood there, staring at the glowing screen of her phone. I don't even remember how I got to that moment, how I ended up scrolling through her messages, but now that I was here, I couldn't look away. The text from him, the one that sent my blood cold, was clear: "I love you more." My heart skipped a beat, then slammed into my rib cage like a freight train. What the hell was going on? I felt sick to my stomach, my hands shaking as I put the phone down on the kitchen counter. A rush of panic swept over me, and I tried to breathe, to clear my mind, but everything felt wrong. I couldn't shake the image of that message, couldn't unsee the way it had sounded in my head, over and over. "I love you more." More than what? More than me? I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I could feel the heat rising in my face, my chest tightening. I didn't even know what to do with all the emotions flooding through me: anger, hurt, confusion, betrayal. My mind was running in circles, trying to piece together the last few months. Something had been off, I knew that. She had been distant, preoccupied. Her attention had slipped away from me in ways I hadn't fully understood at the time. And now, standing there in the kitchen, with her phone in front of me, I felt like an idiot for not seeing it sooner. I heard the front door open, the sound of her voice coming through the hallway. "Hey, I'm back. Are you still working on dinner?" It sounded so casual, so normal, like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. My mind was still racing, trying to catch up with the realization that something was happening right under my nose, something I had completely missed. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, but I knew I couldn't pretend anymore. As soon as she walked into the kitchen, I turned to face her, my heart pounding in my throat. "I need to talk to you," I said, my voice tight, holding back a flood of words. She paused for a moment, noticing the serious tone in my voice, then smiled softly and put down her bag. "Okay, what's going on?" she asked, the smile fading as she took in my expression. I could feel the tension already building between us, the unease creeping into the space. "You can start by explaining this," I said, picking up her phone from the counter and showing her the message from him. It wasn't a question, it was an accusation. Her eyes widened, then quickly flicked away from mine. She didn't say anything at first, and in that silence, I felt something crack inside me. It's not what you think," she said, her voice shaking slightly, but her eyes never quite meeting mine. She took a step toward me, then hesitated. "Can we just talk about this?" I didn't answer her right away. My mind was racing again, trying to process the words she had just said. Not what I think. So, what exactly am I supposed to think? "What's going on, Alice? What is this?" She bit her lip, her hands wringing together nervously. I could see the hesitation in her posture, like she was deciding whether to tell me the truth or try to cover it up. I hated that I had to pull out of her that I couldn't just get the honesty I deserved. "I told you it was complicated," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Complicated?" I repeated, the word tasting like poison on my tongue. "You're texting someone else, 'I love you more,' and you're telling me it's complicated?" "This is more than complicated, Alice. This is—" I stopped because I didn't even know what to say. It was all too much. Too many emotions flooding through me at once. She looked up at me then, her eyes wet with tears. "It's not like that," she said quickly, stepping forward, but I instinctively took a step back, my body refusing to close the distance between us. "I swear it's not. Please just let me explain." But I wasn't sure I wanted to hear her explanation. The image of that text message still burned in my mind, and all I could think about was the way she had told me. "It's complicated." That wasn't an explanation. It was an excuse. "I think you need to explain a lot more than that," I said, my voice low, trying to control the anger rising in me. My chest was tight, and I could feel my heart beating painfully in my ears. "Who is he, Alice? Who's the guy you're sending 'I love you more' to? Why didn't you just tell me the truth?" She seemed to shrink back, her hands falling to her sides, as if she couldn't bring herself to say it out loud. I hated how weak I felt, how powerless in that moment. I wanted to know the truth. I wanted to understand how she could do this to me, to us. "I didn't want to hurt you," she whispered, and there it was, the excuse I had been waiting for. "I didn't want to tell you about him, about how I feel. I didn't know how to say it." I've been struggling with it for a while, and I didn't want to break your heart. But that wasn't the truth. The truth was she'd been hiding this from me for a while, months, maybe longer, and she wasn't sorry she had kept it from me. She was sorry she'd been caught, and that hurt more than anything else. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. You should have told me. I deserved the truth. My voice cracked on the last part, and I hated myself for it, for letting her see how much she had hurt me. But I couldn't stop it. I know, she said softly, her voice breaking. I'm sorry. I didn't want to lose you. Well, you already have, I said, the words coming out before I could stop them. It was like a gut punch, and I immediately regretted it, but I didn't take it back. She had already pulled away from me. The damage had been done, and I wasn't sure I could come back from it. She took a shaky breath, her eyes searching mine, but all I could feel was this intense wall of hurt between us. Please don't say that. I don't want to lose you. I made a mistake. I've been confused and I've hurt you, but please don't give up on me, Jace. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that we could fix this. But how? How do you come back from something like this? How do you forgive someone who's been hiding something this big from you? Someone who's been giving pieces of themselves to someone else while you were left in the dark? I don't know if I can, I said quietly, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. I don't know if I can ever trust you again. The words hung in the air, a painful finality in them that neither of us could ignore. She stood there, tears streaming down her face, looking lost, like she didn't recognize the person standing in front of her. But I couldn't be the one to fix it. Not anymore. I think you need to leave, I said, barely able to get the words out. It felt like I was swallowing broken glass, but I said it anyway. I couldn't let her stay, not after everything. She nodded, her face pale and stricken, and without another word, she grabbed her things and left. The door clicked shut behind her, and for a long time, I just stood there in the silence, the weight of everything settling in around me. I wasn't sure what to do next. I wasn't sure if I even could move forward after this. But I knew one thing for sure. Things between us would never be the same. And in a way, I wasn't sure if they ever could be again. Part 2. I don't know how long I stood there after she left, but when the door clicked shut behind her, it felt like my whole body exhaled in relief, like I had been holding my breath for months and finally got the chance to gasp for air. But it was a hollow relief. The kind you feel when you finally break down and admit something to yourself that you've been avoiding. I was alone now, truly alone, and it hurt in ways I didn't know I could feel. I wandered around the apartment for what felt like hours. It wasn't a big place, but somehow it felt cavernous now, like it had swallowed me whole. Everything was too quiet. There were still little remnants of us scattered around. The coffee cups we used to drink from every morning, the framed pictures of us on the wall, the extra toothbrush in the bathroom. And the worst part was that I didn't even know where to start. I had no idea how to begin to untangle this mess. My chest ached with this deep, gnawing sadness, but I couldn't cry. Not yet. I didn't even know if I had the energy to. The next few hours were a blur. I couldn't focus on anything. I couldn't bring myself to eat or even turn on the TV. My mind kept replaying the scene over and over again, her face as she stood there, trying to explain, trying to act like we could somehow fix this. But we couldn't fix it. She had already made the choice for both of us by falling for someone else. That text wasn't just a slip-up or a mistake. It was a decision. And I wasn't sure if I was ready to let it go, if I was even capable of it. I spent the evening pacing, flipping through my phone, trying to distract myself. But every time I checked the time, it was as though a little more of my soul was slipping away. Hours passed, and I had no answers. Only questions. What happened? How did I not see it? How long has this been going on? I wanted to be angry. I wanted to throw something or scream, but it all just felt so exhausting. There was a weight to this pain, like it was pushing me down with every passing second, and the more I thought about everything, the harder it was to breathe. Finally, as the night dragged on and the house grew colder, I collapsed on the couch. I didn't even bother to change out of my clothes. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, my mind numb and aching. And that's when I saw it, the phone. I had forgotten that I'd left it on the coffee table earlier, still open on the text conversation between Alice and me. The one where she had tried to explain herself. and I knew I shouldn't, but I picked it up. Maybe I thought I'd find some clue to what I was supposed to do next. Or maybe I just wanted to torture myself. I don't know. The first thing I noticed was the last text from her. I swear I didn't want to hurt you, Jace. I've just been so confused. I'll explain everything. Please. I blinked, then read again. And again. Her words stung, but they didn't make me feel any better. In fact, they made me feel worse. I didn't want to hurt you. It wasn't even an apology, not really. It was just a statement, like an excuse. She didn't want to hurt me, but she did. And no amount of explaining was going to change that. I found myself scrolling through their messages, the ones she'd sent with him, the ones I had ignored earlier in my anger. It was like I couldn't stop myself. Her words weren't just casual, they were intimate, flirty, loving. They called each other sweet names I hadn't heard in months. But it wasn't just the words that struck me. It was the length of the conversation, the constant back and forth, the ease with which she shared so much of herself with him. It was clear they had been in contact for far longer than I had thought. And in that moment, I felt utterly betrayed. But what made it worse was that I couldn't just blame him. He was the other man, sure, but Alice had chosen to be with him. She had chosen to keep him around, to lie to me, to keep me in the dark about everything. And I realized that what hurt the most wasn't just her emotional affair. It was that she had treated me like a fool. She had lied to my face for so long, and now, standing in the ruins of everything we built, I felt completely stripped of my dignity. My stomach churned. I dropped the phone onto the couch and stood up, pacing again. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to rage at her, to scream at the unfairness of it all. But I couldn't. Instead, I felt numb, like I was floating through someone else's life. I barely recognized the person in the mirror anymore, barely recognized the guy who thought everything was fine. And then it hit me. I wasn't angry at Alice anymore. I was angry at myself for not seeing it, for not listening to the warning signs, for thinking that we were okay when clearly she wasn't. I had been so focused on fixing things, on being the perfect boyfriend, that I had ignored what was really going on underneath the surface. She had been slipping away from me, and I had just let her. The realization twisted my gut. I had been so wrapped up in my own desire to make things work, to hold on to something that was already falling apart, that I had missed the cracks, the gaps, the lies she had been telling. I grabbed my jacket and walked out the door. It was late. Well past midnight by then, but I didn't care. I couldn't just sit there and let this moment define me. I had to do something. Anything. So I walked and walked, letting the cool night air bite at my skin, hoping it would numb the aching in my chest, even if just for a few minutes. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't even know what I was supposed to do with myself. But I knew that I couldn't stay in that apartment, surrounded by memories of her, of us. I couldn't sit in the silence of a life that was no longer mine. I ended up at the small bar down the street, the one I used to go to by myself when things fell off, when I needed to clear my head. I sat at the bar, nursing a drink that tasted like dirt, but at least it distracted me. For a while, it felt like I could forget, just for a little while. I could escape the pain, but of course it didn't last. The silence between the bartender's half-hearted attempts at small talk felt louder than anything else. It didn't matter where I went or how many drinks I had. I couldn't outrun the mess she had left behind. The only thing that was certain was that my life was different now, and I had no idea what to do with that. At some point, I left. The night felt too long, too heavy, and I wasn't ready to go back to the apartment. I couldn't face it yet. So I walked through the streets in a daze, my mind numb and my heart shattered into pieces I didn't know how to pick up. There was no going back from this, no way to undo what had happened. I could feel that much. But what came next? How was I supposed to move forward when everything I thought I knew had been turned upside down? I didn't have an answer. Not yet.